Hi, I'm Tyson Green. I'm the game director for Destiny 2, and I've been with Bungie for close to 25 years now, and I'm happy to be here talking to you guys today.
Hey, I'm Allison Lures. Hello, I'm the narrative director for Destiny 2. I've been here for 2.5 years, which is just moving the decimal from Tyson's number. Yeah.
I'm Fallout, YouTuber. I don't work at Bungie.
I'm Kakas HD, also YouTuber.
Scarrow, Scarrow.
Dr. Scarrow.
I almost dodged myself.
Good to know, Dr. Scarrow.
Well, I try not to go by that, it's a little pretentious, but also YouTuber, yeah. So, cool. You want to kick us off, buddy? Or?
We just came out of a massive saga with the Light and the Darkness saga, with the finale being in the final shape.
Yeah.
How clear of a vision is there for the new Fate saga compared to the Light and the Darkness saga?
I don't believe in comparisons, but I do believe in having a plan. We have a plan for this saga. We know exactly where we're going and roughly how much time it's going to take us to get there. But one of our goals was to make sure that we knew where we were heading. Because we were able to plan out kind of the big beats of what we want to do, we can start seeding in big stuff early. And so in what you played earlier, this is just the beginning of what's going to be a multi-year saga.
And we're really excited for this because with the Light and Darkness saga, we were learning a lot about that saga even as we were in the process of doing so. So some elements we never had the opportunity to develop the way that we're going to be able to develop the Fate saga. It's really fun to be building towards something that things are going to change as we go. Like we're going to learn things, and there's going to be like things that are cool that we want to lean more into, but it's so much more satisfying to like have an idea of where you're going to, and then like really start to like bring it into the early stage and just watch it all come together.
Yeah, there's nuggets in the Edge of Fate that we won't pay off for many years to come, which is really exciting.
Are there going to be additional aspects of like the echoes that we haven't explored with the episodes, or was that more of like a inter thing, or?
I plead the fifth.
Okay, yeah.
But I will say that when we introduce any element into the story, I see those as ingredients that we should be looking for down the line.
Okay.
Like as we tell stories and make story sandwiches, we should be looking in the fridge for like, what's the ingredient that we haven't touched for a while that we can take out and put into this?
Stop the fridge. Stop the fridge.
Exactly. If you treat everything as Chekhov's gun, suddenly the world becomes a lot more interesting.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'm sure. I mean, there's one answer for if you had a goal. I mean, obviously, with a live service game, the goal is to have a game to play. Of course,
it's a pretty cool goal.
But a great goal to have. But if you had something else that you would say to yourself, if the Edge of Fate accomplishes X, then we'll have achieved the goal that we set for ourselves. What would you say is that kind of goal or objective with the Edge of Fate?
I think with the Edge of Fate and the sort of this big change that's happening to the game, it's to bring Destiny into a place where it can both be more consistent but also more innovative. And this sounds like those are in opposition, but like the truth is when you're sort of careening through like development and you're like reacting to crises and like things are hard because it's not really designed, it was never really thought through to like last as long as it lasted. It's actually really hard to break out of the molds that you're in. Like you're trapped. You have to just do the thing that worked last time until it stops working, and then you're just in more trouble. So what we've been doing with Edge of Fate, starting with Edge of Fate, is saying we want the core of Destiny to be tight, like to feel like it works really well and is like really fun to play for itself. And then these expansions and these events that we're building for it, they can be more innovative. They can try new things. They can like break the mold, and they can be their own experiences in ways that like past expansions could never be. Like it was too risky you couldn't do something like Edge of Fate if that was your frontline expansion like 3-4 years ago. But now we can. And we get to do it twice a year. Like we're going to do something different with Renegades. And with the events, like something like Heavy Metal was not an event that we would have done even a year ago. But now we can do stuff like that because the model is set up to do that. So it's trying to bring Destiny actually into a mature state where we can be successful and consistent, but bring those opportunities for like real, like unexpected variety.
Yeah, and on the story side, the strongest stories are ones that are built off a foundation of characters making choices, rather than things just like happening to a character. Because sometimes that feels a little like kind of Dragon Ball Z, right? Like there's, oh great, there's a new big bad guy and we beat him and there's a new big bad guy. Instead, like what happens when we build a story based off of our characters making choices for themselves? The entire Fate saga happens because Orin decides to quit. And having our story's momentum be built off of that kind of storytelling, where it's the choices that move our way through the world and make the gigantic thing happen, rather than just like, well, it's time for plot to happen, so let's have a plot happen at us. That's the kind of story that we want to tell.
Do you have any plans or ways that you're thinking about of trying to take like community choices into that? If you want choices to drive the world forward, it'd be cool, I think, for the community to have some sort of, I know it's hard to do in a game like this, but always something cool.
I think so too. It's that kind of innovation that Tyson's talking about, like making the kind of game where we can question what our game is in an interesting way and move that forward. As for the thought experiment of like how we could do that and what that looks like, I think it's worth a conversation. Definitely not currently a plan I'm willing to like say that we're doing, but I think that kind of asking ourselves what is the game that we make and the stories that we tell and how can we push that forward is a thing we should be asking.
And like we are always listening to like what's going on and how things are being received. It may not be like a direct line of communication where we say like, here's a poll on BungieNet, like vote for what you want us to do.
Right.
But like not a day goes by where we're not like paying attention, listening, and thinking like, you know, this is happening right now. We didn't expect this, so we expected this. This is going to inform our plans, and we're going to change and evolve things. And I think the thing sometimes is it doesn't seem like that's happening because the lead times are so long, but it's literally not a day goes by that we're not paying attention to what's going on.
Awesome.
So.
Yep.
Awesome.
I guess we are going. Question.
I guess we are.
So I'm sure you guys don't want to hear the phrase Destiny 3, and this is the only time I'll mention it. But many people, when they ask for a Destiny 3, it's people who have stopped playing at some point in time, and they're looking for a fresh start, an excuse to jump back into the franchise.
Yeah.
Is there anything you guys are doing within the Edge of Fate that essentially, you know, if someone who hasn't played Destiny 2 in years, but they enjoy it, they're looking for a chance to jump back in, like why is now during Edge of Fate the time to do so?
Do you want to go first?
So I'm not going to say anything about the actual Fate saga, the story, because I think Allison's going to do a much better job on that. But I will say that we're trying to do two really fundamental things with the starting in season 27. One is there's been a lot of like streamlining of the game. Like last year, if you came back into Destiny expecting to just play, you hit the director and there's just like it's like basically being slapped in the face with a Christmas tree of like things that are blinking at you, demanding your attention, quests being dumped into your log, like you do this, and you're just like, what am I supposed to even do? The portal is intended to be like way smoother, like way easier to come in and like actually just, you know, pick something up, play the game, like have fun. There's almost nothing you can do on the portal that is not actually getting you progress towards, you know, better gear, like more challenging activities, like more aspirational targets. Like it's much easier to come in and play. The second thing is we're trying to make the power and progression game much more approachable, much more accessible. You guys have seen it today with the power remapping down to a smaller number range. I mean, you come into a game and the first number you see is 2100. Like, why did they pick 2100? Well, we didn't. Like, that's accumulated over 11 years. So this is a change that we're saying, like, you know, it's the old numbers are still there. Like, there's a tooltip that actually tells you what your old power is if you want to look at it. But we think it's just clearer and easier to read when it's a smaller number range. So that's there. And then the last thing is we're really pulling out the new gear and making it really easy to see, like, this is what's new in this season. This is what's good and benefiting from artifact bonuses in ways that previously was very obscure. it's just a lot easier to sit down fresh and say, I have a clue of what's going on here than has been previous years. We're not done. Like, over the next year of releases, we're continuing to work on this problem. For Edge of Fate, our core mission is we really want to fix the game for core players, make sure that it's working really well. We're going to keep working on people who have taken a break, people maybe who've never played the game before. That is increasingly our focus as we move towards Renegades.
Yeah, and on the story side, one of the principles that our writers had was to never punish the player for not knowing something. That was a foundational belief that we had going into the Edge of Fate. Knowing, like, this is a new saga, we want to make sure that everyone feels like they can come along for the ride. And so as you experience the game, there'll be new things introduced, but we always want to make sure that it is, like, taking the player along rather than going like, well, lucky for you, you read this very complicated text from 8 years ago, so you get to have a good time, everyone else, I'm sorry. We want to make sure this is for everybody. And so anytime that we're referencing like a super deep lore cut, we want to make sure that that moment is like giving a thumbs up, good job to player for remembering if you do know what it is, and if you don't, there's a little bit where we get to explain in a natural, organic way what the context is and why that matters. We believe that this new saga needs to be one that everybody gets to come along the ride for, no matter how much or how little you know about Destiny.
I had a different question, but I'm gonna stick with yours for just a minute there. I mean, you're obviously not gonna be able to say something like, well, we're working on this, because, you gotta talk about what you can talk about.
We can smile and nod.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We'll use TWID terminology.
Yeah.
So in the TWID, very often you'll post things like, okay, well, here's the problem,
Yeah.
XYZ,
Yeah.
and then here's our solutions to tackle the problem. So
Yeah.
we can't talk about the solution because
Yeah.
that's NDA and stuff.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the problems in terms of like
Yep.
getting people maybe who have taken a long break to come back? What are some top issues that you're like, okay, in order for the next saga to succeed, these are like a couple of the top line issues that we really want to make sure that we tackle?
Yeah, I mean, so one of them is there's so many like different facets of complexity. And one of the facets of complexity that's like just most pernicious about Destiny is it asks you to do too many things at the same time in too many different places. Like you've got a quest log, you've got challenges, you've got seasonal challenges, you've got weekly challenges, you've got like bounties, you've got triumphs, you've got guardian ranks. Like all these different things are like yapping at you for attention. We need to figure out how to solve that. So like the game is trying to like give you some objectives in a clear fashion. And we have some things going to Edge of Fate that fix that, and more things coming in future releases to like continue to like tighten that up so that sitting down, the first couple minutes of sitting down to play should be like, what do I want to play? Not like, what is even the space of things that I have to accomplish? And then like formulating a strategy, and by the time you actually like are boots on ground playing the game, you're like 15, 20 minutes in, if you're lucky.
Right.
So that's a problem. A problem which is related to your question is if I'm coming into this game 5 years, 10 years after my friends, or even the rest of the game who are playing, like, why do I even feel like I'm playing the same game as these people? Like these people they're playing a much deeper, much more advanced, mature game because they themselves are more advanced players. How am I supposed to compete or like even understand the game that they're playing? Whereas, and then on the other side of that equation, like those people are like, I don't want a simpler game. I want a richer game. I want a deeper game. I want a more complex game. So the development of the game is always going to trend towards depth and complexity, but you gotta bring new people in. Like they gotta be able to sit on board. How do we solve that problem? That's a hard problem. Like that's the kind of problem that like kills live service games. We're gonna try very hard to not let it kill Destiny. So like that's another example. There's probably some others, but like
on the story side, more questions.
Oh, yeah.
Destiny is really good story-wise at looking at its own belly button and like just kind of like obsessing over itself and not opening up the world and asking more questions and getting curious about all of the holes that we haven't touched yet. That is a gross way to phrase that, Like
It works.
the parts that Destiny doesn't look at, that's the parts I'm interested in. Being able to make our world move forward by bringing in new characters, asking new questions, making new mysteries. That's what this new saga wants to do.
Are you surprised by the large amount of the community that really wants to leave the solar system?
Well, it's not surprising. No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yes, it's not surprising. I will say that, like, I think that sometimes an IP can sort of get itself into trouble by, like, abandoning its roots.
Yep.
And moving too far away from where it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But Destiny has gone outside the solar system. Destiny's gone outside the universe a couple of times.
Several
right?
dimensions we've
Yeah,
been
like-
outside of, yeah.
So it's not like we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, to the question about, like, you know, what's a new player coming to Destiny, like, if you come into Destiny, the very first place you go is, like, Fundament. You're like, there's like, where the hell is this place? And like a deep Destiny player is like, you know, oh my god, they're going there. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, there's or Toro Bottle is a great example. It's like, do we want to go there? Yeah, sure. Is that the place where we should go right now, where we're like starting off a new saga? Maybe
Yeah.
not the right time for that sort of thing.
For me, I think it's the note behind the note. Like the desire for something new and
Yeah.
like something fresh and some big questions. Like that's the actual
Yeah.
request.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I'm excited for too.
Diving more into the actual game itself, I really enjoyed seeing new weapon types. I really enjoyed when they were expanded. It felt like there was maybe a while where they weren't expanded upon, and then with the final shape, you had much more rocket sidearms, you had the healing auto rifles, and now we have rocket pulse rifles, we have spread shot hand cannons. Will this kind of development into new like weapon types, weapon archetypes, can we expect this to continue? Like to be a normal thing?
I mean, I think the pace is going to ebb and flow. You can't just make rocket everything. I was actually teasing Riley about this the other day. But I think the team is always like looking for low-hanging fruit, but they're also looking for like holes and like gaps in the offering. And when they see those, they're like, we don't have to tell them like, you know, we need a new like sub-archetype. Like the team is like, I would like to make something that fits this hole, like solves this problem space, like that solves this gap in the arsenal. So I expect that they're going to do that. I don't think you're going to see like huge surges of those in every single release, because I actually do think to some degree it destabilizes the game when you do too much of that all at once and you don't let it settle and gel. But what I am pleased to see is like, you know, the rocket sidearm that was introduced, and then we did another, and now we've done like a few more, and it's just sort of like it's settling into its own role in the sandbox. I want to make sure that we're releasing these things at such a pace that we can actually let them settle into the sandbox and not turn into that one weird destabilizing element that we never really came back to and eventually nerfed into oblivion because it was just too much trouble to maintain. That's what I want to avoid. So, so yes, but we're gonna like be paced about it.
So playing Edge of Fate seemed pretty clear that there was the biggest change to me noticeable right away from a gameplay perspective was the addition of a fair amount of, you know, kind of like a puzzle element. So just two questions there. One, what was the inspiration, or maybe what was the decision that led to the team sitting down and being like, I think we should add this puzzle element to Destiny that wasn't quite as strong before? And then the second question is, have you seen a good testing response to that so far? Because I'm very curious to know how the community is going to react to, because I feel like there's going to be some people who react quite positively to it, the Metroid fans. And then there might be some people who might not react so positively to it. But I just wanted to know what the decision was that led to it, and if you've heard good feedback so far.
Yeah, it was one of the earliest conversations that we had at the leadership level. We were interested in trying something new, and I remember a handful of us were like, we want to do a Metroidvania like so badly.
And the thing is, like, as soon we had to establish this paradigm of expansions being places where you can innovate.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that was a very early like goal of like a lot of these changes that we are bringing to bear starting in season 27 with Edge of Fate. Once we had like established that there's going to be a box called Edge of Fate, or it didn't have a name back then, what could go in that box? And we like there's a bunch of like ideas like pitched and like thrown out, and this is actually very common with our expansion in the past. Like someone's like, "So what if we did a space western and turned into Forsaken? What if we did like an 80s like action movie and turned into Lightfall, right?" In this one, there was a thing that we gravitated onto like really early was like our dungeons. Like the dungeons that we build, they often have these sort of like exploration and puzzle mechanics built into them. They challenge our players to do more than just like shoot through the encounters and like kill harder. You've got to like figure them out. And then that like, they were like, well, you know, there's this whole like really recognizable genre of Metroidvanias that do similar things. And like Dreaming City did some of this too, and that was like really satisfying. And Edge of Fate was playing in this space too with like some of its campaign missions. So yeah, what if we really leaned into this and really made an expansion all about this? And we say Metroidvania often because it's a term that people in games know, but it actually very much draws its inspiration from some of our dungeons and our destinations like Dreaming City. So it's sort of a fusion of a bunch of things that inspire us.
I see.
But that happened, I think, really quite early on where we're saying, how do we explore a space and like actually engage more of your like gamer brain than just like your like aiming and shooting like components.
Has the response been good so far?
I would say in internal playtesting and like user research playtesting, which we do a fair amount of, it's been very positive. It's obviously it's kind of hard to tell until they like mature to a certain point and like they work all the bugs out. I was watching the playtest lab. A couple of the guys here, they were like, "Hey, I kind of broke this puzzle by just like jumping past it," and I was like, maybe we should leave that in the game because that's kind of cool.
That's kind of funny.
But those things, your like early response can be like really bad because the puzzle mechanics aren't polished. Like it's not fun to play. But then like it gets good like once you like cross this critical point. I think it's going to be pretty positive. I hope it's going to be positive. I don't want to presume anything.
That's fair. Thank you.
I have an idea for the last 5 minutes. We have 10 minutes. 5 minutes, I think, rapid fire. So if you guys have deeper questions you want to answer for the next 5, if you have any deeper questions you'd like to ask.
Can I build off his? And
Yeah,
it
please,
is a
please,
rapid
please.
fire?
Yeah,
Go for it.
So, a lot of puzzles, a lot of secret chests I saw. Here's my question as a more advanced player, someone who plays a lot. Why am I doing them? Because if I don't care about the title, like why am I doing them?
A lot of those chests that you're seeing as you play through, they have gear that's good for you as you're playing through. Like there's good power bumps, and they tend to drop at higher tiers. Some of them are admittedly for players who want to explore. So some of them for a power user like you who's like really goal oriented. Like I want to get a build together. Like I want to be doing the raid. I want to be like doing the hard stuff. It's okay. Like some of those things aren't there for you. Some of those are there for the people who they want the title, they want to like tick the boxes, they want to be their completionist oriented players. We recognize different categories of players. Do we call them cohorts now? I can't remember.
Cohort sounds right.
Cohorts.
That's a good word.
Anyways, we've been through a bunch of terminology, so forgive me. But there's like a story socializer cohort. There's like a collaborative challenge contender cohort. But there's one cohort that we call we don't call them this, it's the title I was giving them, those lonely lore lovers. And these are the people who actually like playing the game on their own and really enjoying it and like soaking up what the game has to offer. They love having collectibles and they love having things to find and discover. They like when they go around a corner that was like kind of hard to get to, they actually found something that recognizes the accomplishment of having done so. It's like, yeah.
Okay.
Like those are fun. Different strokes for different folks,
For
right?
sure.
Like, and that's, we have a big range to cover, so that's what we try to do.
Cool. Any plans for more Crucible maps?
More Crucible maps, no plans right now at this moment, because what we're focusing on with the Crucible experience is we really want the reward experience to be much stronger than it has been in the past. we want there to be a route to like basically the highest tiers of gears internal to Crucible. There's like new sets of like Crucible gear available, and then a lot of like quality of life in the Crucible space, like how the scoring systems work and how like matchmaking works. Maps are something we're definitely going to keep making in the future, but because we've been focusing on other aspects of the game in this release, nothing to announce at this time.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, you know, the sandbox living, breathing thing, always changing, right?
Yeah.
So if you have these bullseyes, these targets that you're kind of nailing one at a time, and then, you know, you have Armor 3.0 or the new gear system. Further out, is there something that you're thinking, what would be a sandbox update that you would like to maybe tweak in the future if you could, or evolve, or something?
Oh,
You've got a list.
There's so many of them, like, and I'll say a few of them without any like time frame because we don't know what the time frame is. I think there's the properties of the artifact that I'd like to change, especially like being able to fold it into loadouts, which is a thing that's technically very difficult for us to do right now, but we want to make that easier. We've talked a lot about combatant counterplay, where the combatants themselves right now can be just bowled over by the player, and like, you know, how can we give them a little bit more pushback without just like turning them into bullet sponges? That's a whole space and domain of like interesting development. I would be interested someday in like exploring vehicle sandboxes. There's a lot of that in like Bungie's like first-person shooter DNA to explore, but there's just so much for us to like look at, engage. Like subclasses, like subclass mechanics. We had such a transformative change in Witch Queen with the subclass 3.0. Like, you know, what is the next evolution and transformation along those lines? Like, that's the sort of thing that lives in my mind a lot. But yeah, there's our sandbox experience has got so many like facets that we want to like, you know, grab and like bring up and upgrade. I could talk about this for hours. I'm sure.
Yeah, Henry?
I was going back. Okay, well, I'll go. Essentially, I think the question I have one here is like, when are we going to get the missing third darkness element? But I know I'm not going to get much from you guys on that. So I think the question I want to ask here is, you know, it seems like a lot of development time. Well, I don't want to spend on development time, but we have these brand new Kepler mechanics, Matter Ball. We have the one that you can shift the environment and all these things. Will we ever see these mechanics on anywhere other than Kepler, like in future content?
Without making any promises, because at this moment in time there are no plans to like take them out of Kepler, but we've taken a lot of past mechanics out of like past expansions and past content and like reintroduced them in fun new ways in different places. So it'd be, I wouldn't bet against stuff like that showing up in different contexts. Like we joke internally, like Matter Ball Crucible mode. Like, and I'm sure somebody at some point is just going to do that, and it's going to be hysterical. And then we're going to like, you know, actually step back, take a look at it, and be like, oh, actually that would work if we did this. So that's once we introduce elements into Destiny, we don't forget about them. We like look back at them and say like, you know, is there a way to do this? And you will see some of that in coming releases with elements that we've had in the past. So
It's the fridge, right?
yeah, it's the fridge.
Yeah.
It's the gameplay version of the fridge. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I always think just like how you have in Hypernet Current the Sparrow section, you could just have a Matter Ball section in a new strike.
Yeah,
Would be kind of
yeah,
cool.
it would be, well, you know, especially like
Same.
once you have that destination, you're just like, you know, well, if players come back to Kepler to do something else, like a different mission or a different like activity, is like, hey, did you unlock like the top form of Matter Ball? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you get to play with it here again. So.
Let's say you had magic microphone and you can speak to everyone who has not played Destiny 2 for a number of years.
Yeah.
You have elevator pitch. I mean, hey, we have 2 minutes. Give them
Yeah.
maybe like 30 seconds each. Why should they come back to play Edge of Fate?
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm using all my time. I think it's elevator pitches is so hard for me because I don't think that way.
Sure.
But the elevator pitch is Destiny has one of the deepest like offerings of like high quality shooter content ever assembled into a video game. it's very easily to access. There's like great rewards that you can like just put these amazing builds, like a lot of different like capabilities. It is a very, very much more welcoming experience than you may expect it to be. God, that's awful. It's a good thing I'm not in marketing.
You don't need to watch a 2-hour YouTube video to understand what's going on.
They don't want to hear you say that.
But they can if they want to.
Come on to
They
Straight
can.
Yes.
Channel.
We're not-
If
right
you
now.
want
Yeah,
to,
we're fine.
yes.
We're not. I was like, that just Phil biting
Mike
the
is
bus
awesome.
there.
But yeah, I know for a lot of like my personal friends who don't play Destiny, and they're like, I really want to play, but it sounds like there's like a lot I need to study.
Yeah.
You don't got to study for this
Oh my
one.
God,
Come
yes.
on in.
Like
Yeah.
you
Nice.
don't need a
That's a good
PhD to
one.
play Destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm gonna go until we get kicked out. A lot of end game things are changing. The holofoils have transformed how a lot of people farm end game activities. You have the tier 5 weapons that are coming. Any changes to the title system that you can? It's kind of stagnated for the last number of years.
I don't think there's any changes coming in Edge of Fate beyond just sort of like tightening and cleaning it up.
Okay.
I think we've had a lot of like triumphs that don't contribute to the title, and we're trying to like tighten that and just like get
Yep.
it like focused. So I think the answer right now is no.
Okay.
There's nothing changing about titles, but titles are a clear focal point for triumph-like content
Yep.
in starting in Edge of Fate.
Okay.
What's a lore question you wish someone has asked you, but no one has asked you yet?
It's actually a spoiler,
Oh,
so
no.
I can't say.
Who's your favorite member of the 9?
Oh, the sun. Oh my god. Easy. The sun. Four is a very close runner-up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, oh god, 4 breaks my heart. You're gonna love them.
Okay.
They're great. All my friends are great.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much.
Shout out to us, guys. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, shut it down, Scare.
Yeah.